programs. So first off, let's go into Safari. And by the way, this version is for the Mac. So if you're using a Mac, we're going to be in Safari. And the first thing we're going to want to do is download Firefox. Now some of you may already have Firefox, but the quickest way to get Firefox is to Google Firefox. And here it comes up, and we can just click on download version 3.63. And when we click that, it brings up a free download. And we're going to do our Mac OS X download. And we see here it's going to take a little while. And I'm just going to assume that whoever's doing this knows how to install software on a Mac. So instead of walking through this completely, I'm just going to explain what you would do. This file that you just downloaded, .dmg, would save to your download folder, at which point you would double click on it and actually install the application Firefox onto your Mac. Okay? So kind of cut that one a little bit short, but it would have taken a little bit longer. Now let's download another program we're going to need called Audacity, and that's a free audio editor and recorder, which is pretty sweet. And let's click right here on the For Macs option, and we'll download Audacity 1.2.5 for the Mac. So go ahead and download that. Right here are the installation instructions, which will also kind of help you with Firefox if you don't know how to install DMG files. And then lastly, we need to download the lame MP3 encoder off of Audacity's website so that we can actually make MP3 files with Audacity. So for Mac OS X, we're going to go to the lame download page. Excuse me. And we're going to download lame library 3.9.2 for Audacity on osx.dmg. Now I'm going to walk you through this installation because it's a little weird. So when this downloads, we're going to grab it out of our downloads folder, which is over here, and there's that DMG we just downloaded. And it's going to open up, and you're going to see a package here. We're going to install that package. It's going to guide us through the installation stuff. Put in whatever your password is if you have a password on your Mac. And now it's installed. Lastly, if you don't already have this, if you have a Mac, it should be on here already. But if you happen to not have iTunes, you're going to want to download iTunes right here, iTunes 10, because that's actually what we're going to use to rip our CD. Okay? So we should have downloaded Firefox, Audacity, the lame encoder, and iTunes. And now, with all these new applications on our computer, we are ready to rip the CD. Now for the example for today, I'm actually going to be ripping the sermon from 1024, John 3:16, onto the computer. So I'm putting the disc into my drive right now. You might be able to hear it spinning up. And we can open up iTunes at this point. And we're going to want to change some settings in iTunes. Normally iTunes will import, if we go into preferences and import settings, normally iTunes imports at a very high quality. Now this is great for music and that kind of stuff, but for what we're doing with the spoken word, with these sermons, it's actually going to behoove us, it will save us some time, to drop our bitrate down to 48 or even 32. 32 kilobits per second is about all you need to get spoken word to come across really good. Alright? So we're going to put that in and we're going to click OK. And we're going to allow that change to happen. Now remember that since you made this change, you're going to want to change it back before you try and rip an MP3 from a CD, or else your CD will not sound very good. Alright? So we're going to click OK on that. Now if we look here on the sidebar of our iTunes library, we'll see pop up an audio CD. We don't want to import the songs just yet because we only want certain songs, specifically the sermon. Now on the CD, look for your longest file, and you're going to listen to it and make sure that it has the sermon in it.
Ron Renz woke up one day
There's
and said,
the start of your sermon.
I want to just spend...
So, since we found our sermon on this track 3, we're going to take track 3 and we're going to import it. Just track 3. So we can uncheck track 1 and 2, and we're going to rename track 3 to the date or to just the sermon title. We're just going to put the sermon titles. This sermon was John 3:16. And you know what? We will throw the date up there for good measure. The date of the sermon was 10-24-10. And the sermon was John 3:16. The pastor was Dr. Jack Stevenson. And under album, in case we're doing this a lot, let's throw in the year. So we'll know it's a Nona 2010. We'll know, and if we wanted to pull up all of our sermons from 2010, we'd have them. So let's import this single track. And it gives us our import settings again. And we just want to make sure that we're doing what we had expected to do, which we are. We can click, actually this needs to go up to 2250. We can click OK, change, and click OK again, and then import the CD. And now we'll rather quickly, or slowly, for whatever reason, I guess because it's 41 minutes, input this track. So I'm going to take a break right now, and I'll get back to you guys once this track is finished importing. Alright guys, I'm back again. The MP3 has finished ripping, as you can see by this green check mark right here. So I'm going to go into my music library and find that MP3, which is right here. And I'm going to grab it and drag it to my desktop. That's just a quick and dirty way of kind of getting access to the file. And now if I do a 4-finger swipe for expose, you see right here, I've got the file sitting right here. And we're going to do a quick and dirty rename on the file while we got it right here sitting in front of us. We're just going to rename it to the sermon title, John 3:16. And here's the deal. If you're going to do a space, don't put a space. You have to do an underscore. Just like we did over here on this one from last week called The Intuitive Life. You need to make sure you use underscores instead of spaces, or else you'll get an error. The user will get an error when they try to update their podcast feed in iTunes.